What you mind, you become. What you mind, you receive. What you mind comes in a friction. What you mind is given to you. You mind the things of flesh, you'll be full of flesh. Because flesh will deliver into you through your mind flesh or things of flesh. All right? What you mind, you receive. Okay, that? So, mind and thing is more or less like a currency in the spirit realms. You see that? You're so rich in the mind. There's no amount of wealth that you don't have in the mind. The currency to purchasing anything from the spirit world is different states of the mind. If you have a fearful mind, the spirit of fear will come into you. If you have a cowardly mind, the spirit of uncertainty, the spirit of weakness will come into your mind, will come through the mind. If you mind the things of spirit, of course, holiness, righteousness, godliness, the fear of the Lord, the blessing of the Lord will come into your life. So what you mind is what you receive. What you mind is what you paid for. By law, when you mind something, you've paid for it. And by law, it is guaranteed to be released into your life. So the greatest act of receptivity is of the mind. If you mind sex, you start committing sexual sin. It's as simple as that. Once you set your mind on sexual urges, sexual activities, sexual things, over time, you see yourself committing fornication or adultery. Why? Because you've set your mind on it. If you set your mind to study and to read and to improve your finances, over time, trust me, you will acquire in great knowledge. And of course, you start making practical steps and you see how your finances will increase and improve. Whatever you set your mind on, you become. And there's no way anyone can be like Christ without the mind of Christ. The visibility of Jesus Christ comes through having the mind of Christ. Mind of Christ. The mind of Christ. Christ in you, but you don't have the mind of Christ. So there is no evidence, there's no reflection, there's no tangibility that Christ is in you, because you don't have the mind of Christ that gives expression to the visibility, character, power, glory of the residency of Christ in your spirit. Now, we have a bunch of hundreds and, of course, thousands of believers across the world that Jesus lives in their hearts. When they got born again, Jesus came into their hearts, but you don't see the evidence of the residency of Christ in their lives. You don't see the evidence of the residency of Christ in their bodies, in their health, even in their words, in their ways of life. They are full of struggles, full of flesh, full of unrighteousness. And you're wondering, how come this is a pastor that is preaching? This is a sister that is singing. This is a church member that has been there for 20 years, for 30 years, or for 10 years in church, and there's no significant change. You don't see Christ's life like. The reason is because they have Christ in their hearts, but they don't have the mind of Christ. Because the mind of Christ is the bridge, is the link. It is a connection that gives expression to Christ that is in your spirit. Without the mind of Christ, it is impossible to have the realities of Christ passed on to you as an inheritance. So your qualification to actually access the inheritance of Christ is the mind of Christ. And that's why the Bible says that there is a build-up. A build-up in the sense that the Bible says that, brethren, I commend you to God and to the word of his grace, which is able to build you up and to give you an inheritance amongst them that are sanctified. So there is a sanctification requirement or a sanctification process, that in that process of being sanctified, the mind of Christ is developed. And in that mind of Christ becomes your connectivity, your connection to the realities of Jesus that is in your spirit. And over time, you start seeing that the blessings of Christ, the words of Christ, and the residencies of Christ become what you experience.